portion of this video is sponsored by Great Toothpaste. It's been 4 years. I think it's probably time to tell a story. I don't know how much damage I can do at this point.
Are you sure?
Not really. This is making me really more nervous to like actually share this story. But I think people can handle it. Like, we'll see what happens. Oh, secret police heard us. They say the phones aren't listening. I'll put it on speaker so you can hear. Hey Tim.
Hey, good morning.
Your ears must have been ringing. It's been 4 years. I think I'd like to tell the story about why I got blacklisted. You guys are probably okay with that now, right?
It's something we wouldn't advise.
I mean, 4 years is a long time. I think I'm gonna do it. You're breaking up. Let's do it. That's perfect. So the story that I want to share is how I got blacklisted from Apple PR. This happened back in 2018. So it's been about 4 years since all of this went down. I've insinuated and I've shared it privately, even told a story on a podcast or two, but I've never sat down and actually said what happened, why it happened, and how it actually turned out in the long run to be a good thing, although it took 4 years for me to see that it was a good thing. So just for context, this is me. I used to go to Apple events. I was sitting second row behind Al Gore, next to Lorraine Jobs. I had the opportunity to see all these amazing products be announced, and it was awesome. And it helped shape the early days of my career. I was never one that got early Apple review units. I was able to go to events, but I wasn't, I guess, on the list or however they structured that for getting review units early. I was always rushing and struggling to get the phones on launch day to share that. In the early days, I was always sort of me and Mark Watson trying to figure out who can get the phones first, and he always beat me by 2 hours because the dude was in St. Louis and 2 hours ahead of me. And those are some of my best moments. But in 2018, Apple completely stopped talking to me, stopped replying to any emails, and I thought it was a better part of valor to just kind of bury it. But now, it makes a really good story. So I don't think it's much of a secret to say that Apple PR is tough. They are very cautious, first of all, who they work with. They're very cautious the message that people share, who they work with. They're very cautious of the products, everything. I think most people know that. So let's go back to the iPhone XS and XR announcements. So again, 2018, September-ish, Apple is announcing the iPhone XS. And like most modern years, most people knew what was going to come from the phone. There were dummy units that had come out, had the opportunity to get those dummy units beforehand. It was actually the first time I'd ever had dummy phones before. So we pre-filmed some stuff, and in the thumbnails and in the video, I was holding the dummy units out. And video went up. We got those videos up nuts fast. I think we got those videos up even before Apple put their keynote up. It was awesome. Our whole systems worked perfectly. So next day, I get a phone call from Cupertino, and it is a representative from Apple PR advising me strongly to take the video down. So obviously I asked why. They said you're making it look like you have the phones, and you're making it look like Apple gave you those devices beforehand, and that's not the case. You need to take that video down if you want to have a relationship with Apple moving forward. And I guess in a way, like holding them in a thumbnail did kind of look like we had the phones, but the video was just talking about the announcement. It wasn't like, I have a phone, let me show you. But it was the first time I had seen Apple come in strong and try to dictate the message of my content. So since I'm on the topic of talking about issues I have with Apple, it's a nice segue for this video sponsor, Grey Ducky by Grey Toothpaste. So right now in the US and other parts of the world, it is crazy hot. There are power surges going on. And if you've got a MacBook, the last thing you want to do is fry your very, very expensive computer due to a power surge. You maybe never noticed, but when you plug those adapters in, assuming you're not using the extension part that comes with it, you only have 2 prongs, meaning you don't have a way to ground that in a surge. And that is bad news for computers. Fortunately though, Grey Ducky solves that for you. If you ever noticed, you can actually pull off those 2 prongs on the MacBook adapter. The Grey Ducky slides right in there and does exactly what you'd expect. It gives you 2 prongs plus the extra one that's gonna do the grounding. Now you can take that grounding plug and lay it flat if you don't wanna use it and plug it into an outlet with just the 2 prongs, but if you've got one with 3, which is gonna ground it, Grey Ducky has you covered. Protect your computer, protect your investment. It is a must-have if you're charging USB-C, an iPad, or anything else that you're using the Apple Charger for. It's gonna protect it from power surges, which happen more often than you'd think. It only has to happen to you once to have damaged hardware to realize that you need something. So have some foresight, protect your computer, protect your electronics, and check out Grey Ducky. If you wanna check it out, pick one up, or learn more, put a link to it down below. Now we'll see oftentimes with sponsors try to ask if we could change how things are worded or how things look, and you expect that because it's sponsored. But this was my video on my channel with Apple not being involved officially at all. And it quite frankly caught me off guard. And I made a decision that I now regret, but trying to see what I thought was a big picture. And again, this is back in Techno Buffalo days when I had the website and Apple was a really important part of what we were doing. So I acquiesced. I took the video down, and I believe it's one of the few videos that I've ever taken down. I regret it now, but I did it. I emailed Apple, said, hope we can save the relationship. It's been taken down per your request, and I didn't hear anything after that at all. When that phone was announced, the XR was also announced, and I had that phone. I was testing it, I was reviewing it. And this is part of the story that you guys probably don't know, but if you go back and watch that 10-hour review, I don't know if you can see it in my eyes and my face, but that was one of the hardest times for me I'd ever had professionally. Techno Buffalo was having just a ton of issues. I was the most stressed I've ever been in my professional career, and I remember having to go in and film that 10-hour review, and I just remember that feeling of just feeling really, really bad. But what was also really bad was my experience with the XR. So when it came out, I bought one, and it wasn't working well. I had a ton of crashes. I had boot loop issues. It wasn't the usual experience that I expected from an iPhone. So I went and bought another XR. I thought maybe it was just the phone that I had, so to see if that could be duplicated. And it was better, but I was still having issues. So I actually emailed Apple. I tried to be a good sport, let them know, hey, I'm having issues with these 2 XRs that I bought. I want to let you know. They got back to me and thank you for letting us know. Can we track your phone? I think I had to give them my IMEI or ICC ID. Some way they were able to come in and sort of see the error logs in the phone. They said, can you give us some time to try to troubleshoot? I said, sure, but I have to get a review up. Again, Techno Buffalo days, we got to get a written review. We had to get the video review up and live. So I did that, and I waited about 5 days, didn't hear anything back. I followed up, didn't hear anything back, followed up for, I believe, about 3 days straight, didn't hear anything back. Eventually, I had to get the video up. And again, these are phones that I bought. They didn't send me these devices. So I shared my opinions on the XR, and they were not positive. Video goes up, say about 12 o'clock, video goes up. Maybe around 2 o'clock, phone rings, Cupertino, area code. I answer it, same Apple rep. And again, I've been doing this for a long time, and still, in my now like 15 years or so of doing YouTube videos, I've never been spoken to like I was spoken to on the phone. I was scolded like a child. How dare you not give us a chance to resolve these issues? How dare you put up a video? You didn't give us a chance to fix these problems. You didn't. I mean, it's a whole litany of I wouldn't say accusations, but I was being scolded like I talked to my children. I was like flabbergasted. Take the video down. Obviously, I chose not to take the video down, despite me not being very proud of that video because of how I felt at the time. What I said about the phone was very true, and it was my experience with the iPhone XR. So we had the interaction with Apple. I emailed the reps and the PR people that I knew there. I said, listen, I'm sorry we had this agreement. Hope we continue to work together. Never heard anything back. Never heard anything ever again from Apple. Never had invitations. I've had devices beforehand. But it was at that moment that I was apparently blacklisted from Apple. And if this sounds like I'm salty I'm not invited to events anymore, I'm honestly not. Our videos have actually been more successful not being at events, being able to get our videos up quicker and being able to do hands-on with our own phones, not having to be constrained by what Apple PR wants us to say or needs to say or worried about saving a relationship. That's not what the story is about. It was more of just sharing this just crazy experience of working with Apple and Apple trying to dictate the content of the video. Now, I have worked with mostly every major tech brand in the past 15 years, and I have never experienced that level of oversight from a PR department before. And usually if we've had issues, sometimes they don't agree with the review, and that's fine. Usually we can talk, we can iron things out, and ultimately salvage the relationship. But to have a company essentially say it is our way or no way was something that was a really new experience. And I'd heard stories from colleagues about how Apple's PR can be tough and hard to work with, and you have to kind of walk the line of wanting to share your genuine thoughts, but also not pissing them off. And it was really that interaction that made me realize how strong that was. And this has sort of been a story, I don't know, maybe I should write a book one day about all the crazy stuff that's happened over my decade and a half of doing this. But the Apple PR side was something that I get all the time. Like, why aren't you at events? Why don't you have devices at launch? And now I can just reference this video and be like, that's the reason they don't want to talk to me anymore. Again, it's ultimately worked out better for the channel, for the business, and for me to have sort of full freedom over what I say and when I say it. But it's a story that I wanted to share. And no other point than just to share the story. It's not to bash Apple. I still obviously use and wear Apple products. I like Apple as a company. I think they're pushing the tech envelope very, very far forward. I think as Apple goes, the rest of the tech industry tends to follow, and you have a successful Apple, you have a successful, whole industry. So I don't harbor any ill feelings towards Apple whatsoever. It was just this story, and now 4 years later, I can kind of laugh about it. I just thought it was time to share it. I got a lot of stories from the years that are making me remember and smile and sometimes cringe, and I just wanted to share them with you guys because I do get this question quite a bit, especially when it comes to new iPhone launches. So that's my story about how I got blacklisted from Apple PR. Maybe it's not as salacious as some people had expected, but it was a very interesting story. It's a fun aside to that story. So ultimately, after that 10-hour review was when I decided to sell Techno Buffalo, and then I went to Claremont and I filmed this video with John Morrison talking about his experience with the 10-hour, because I thought maybe somebody else had a different experience. His was very positive, so I thought maybe it was just my devices. But it was sort of at that moment when I started realizing that I had to make a change, that I had to sort of focus on video, refocus on video, and sort of refocus on doing the things that I love. And that was ultimately making content. I started filming actually with him in Austin, up in Claremont, and that totally changed kind of my life and career. It's just a fun chain of events and how things happened. If it wasn't for Apple, probably wouldn't have gone up there, probably wouldn't have shot up there. I'd probably wouldn't even be in this studio where we're at right now. I'm kind of wondering how life would have shaken out. So if there's a moral, even at really bad times, you do not have a crystal ball to see what's going to happen in the future. So anyway, that's my story. That's what happened with Apple. I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of crazy comments down below about this, but I just wanted to share it and give you a little glimpse of what goes on behind the scenes.